I'm Riley, 32 years old, and 6 weeks ago I sat in my fiancé's apartment staring at a wedding dress I'd never get to wear because my brother convinced our parents I was stealing from them. While he pocketed $300,000 of the money I'd been sending home for 8 years, nobody believed me. Not at first. Then my uncle showed up with a banker's box full of receipts, and suddenly, everything made sense. Before I tell you what happened next, if you enjoy stories about family betrayal and the moment you finally stand up for yourself, please take a second to like and subscribe, but only if this story actually speaks to you. Drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? And have you ever been the family ATM? Now, let me take you back 8 years to the phone call that changed everything. I was 24, working my first corporate job in Seattle. I just moved into a tiny studio apartment, the kind where the kitchen is basically a hot plate and a dream. My phone rang at 11:30 on a Tuesday night. Riley, honey, it was Dad. His voice sounded wrong, shaky. We need to talk about something serious. My stomach dropped. What's wrong? Is Mom okay? Your mother's fine, but we're in trouble, sweetheart. Real trouble. He explained it slowly, carefully. The family business, the hardware store that had been in our family for 35 years, was failing. Online shopping had gutted their customer base. They were 3 months behind on commercial rent. The landlord was threatening eviction. How much do you need? I asked, already reaching for my laptop. That's the thing, honey. It's not a one-time fix. We need consistent help, just until we stabilize. 6 months, maybe a year. What are we talking about? $2,000 a month, he said quietly. I know that's a lot for someone just starting out, but your brother can't help. His medical bills from the accident are still crushing him, and you know Jamie, she's got the kids and the mortgage. I'm the only one who can do this, I finished. Exactly, Dad said, and I could hear the relief in his voice. You always were our golden girl. Smart, responsible. We knew we could count on you. I set up the automatic transfer that same night. $2,000 first of every month, straight from my checking account to theirs. Dad made me promise not to tell anyone. Not your brother, not your sister. They'd feel terrible knowing you're carrying this burden. They've got enough to worry about. This stays between us and your mother, okay? Okay, I said. What else could I say? They never said thank you. Not that first month. Not ever. Instead, Mom would call and say things like, "The payment went through. You're such a good daughter." As if love was a transaction. As if I was paying rent on their affection. 3 months in, I saw something on Facebook that made my hands shake. My brother Derek posted photos from a weekend trip to Portland. Brewery tour with the guise, the caption read. Needed this after everything. I stared at those photos for 20 minutes. Derek was drinking craft beer. Derek was smiling. Derek, who supposedly couldn't help with the family business because his medical bills were crushing him. I almost called Mom to ask about it. Almost. But then I told myself, maybe it was a gift. Maybe his friends paid. Maybe I'm being petty for even questioning it. That was the first time I lied to myself. It definitely wouldn't be the last. Year 2, the amount went up to $2,500. We're almost there, Dad would say on our monthly check-in calls. Just a few more months and we'll be stable. The business is picking up. I can feel it. Year 3, $3,000. We had to invest in new inventory, Mom explained. You can't run a hardware store with empty shelves. Year 4, $3,500. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. The medications are expensive. But he's working so hard, Riley. He's doing this for the family. For you. For your inheritance someday. I never questioned it. I just adjusted. I stopped buying nice clothes. I stopped going out with friends. I took on freelance graphic design work in the evenings, designing logos for startups and wedding invitations for strangers, just to make the numbers work. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it was love. I told myself it mattered. But here's what I didn't tell myself. that I was slowly disappearing. I met Marcus in year 5. He was a software engineer, quiet and thoughtful, the kind of man who actually listened when you talked. We'd been dating for about 8 months when he brought it up. "Riley," he said one night over Thai takeout, "when are we going to talk about moving in together?" "Soon," I said, stirring my pad thai. "I just need to save up a bit more." We were sitting on his couch, the nice leather one he'd saved for, and he looked at me with those gentle brown eyes. "You make $80,000 a year. I make 90. Combined, we could afford a really nice place." "I know," I said, "but I've got expenses." "What expenses?" I watched his face, trying to decide how much to tell. "My family," I finally said. "I help them with the business." "How much?" $3,500 a month. His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "Riley, that's $42,000 a year." "I know. For how long? 5 years." He did the math. I watched him do it, watched the numbers click into place behind his eyes. $210,000. Give or take. I tried to sound casual, like it wasn't a house, wasn't a wedding, wasn't a future we could have had. "Have they ever tried to pay you back?" "It's not a loan," I said defensively. "It's family." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Has your dad's business gotten better?" I don't know." "You don't know? Riley, you've given them $250,000 and you don't know if it's actually helping?" He wasn't angry. That would have been easier. He was concerned, and somehow that felt worse. I promised I'd ask. I didn't. What I did instead was avoid the subject. Marcus didn't push, but I could feel something shift between us. A small crack, barely visible, but cracks have a way of growing. Year 6. Dad called on a Saturday morning. "Riley, sweetheart, we need to talk about increasing the amount." My blood went cold. "To what?" $4,000. "Just for a little while. The store needs some renovations. The roof is leaking, and you know how expensive contractors are these days." "Dad, I'm trying to save for a wedding." I didn't mean to say it like that. Accusatory, desperate. But it came out anyway. "A wedding?" His voice brightened. "You and Marcus are engaged?" "Not yet, but are you pregnant?" "What?" "No, Dad, that's not..." "Well, then what's the rush? You're only 30. You've got plenty of time for weddings. The store needs you now." I wish I could say I stood my ground. I wish I could say I told him no, told him I couldn't keep bleeding myself dry for a business I'd never even seen the books for. But I didn't. I increased the payment to $4,000 a month. Marcus proposed 3 months later. He did it at a little Italian restaurant, got down on one knee with his grandmother's ring. I said yes. I meant it. But when we started planning, when we started talking budgets and venues and guest lists, I had to tell him the truth. "We can't afford the kind of wedding we want, can we?" Marcus asked quietly. "Not while you're still sending $4,000 a month." I felt the walls closing in. What if I talked to them? What if I explained that we need to save? What if they said no? "Then you'll know," he said simply. "You'll know what you're worth to them." I wasn't ready to find out. Christmas that year was at my parents' house. Marcus came with me. It was the first time he'd visited, and I was nervous. The house looked good, really good. Mom had redecorated. New furniture in the living room, one of those fancy sectional sofas that costs as much as a used car. New kitchen appliances, the kind with touch screens and Wi-Fi connectivity. I must have been staring because Mom laughed. "You like it?" Your father finally agreed to update things. We were so behind the times. Marcus's hand found me, squeezed it. "How's the store doing?" I asked carefully. "Oh, you know," Dad said, waving his hand dismissively. "Ups and downs, retail is tough. But we're managing." We walked through the house. I noticed new hardwood floors. I noticed a wall that hadn't been there before, some kind of renovation. I noticed a 70-inch TV in the den. I noticed Derek didn't come to Christmas. He's spending it with Amber's family this year, Mom explained. You know how it is. New relationships. I didn't know Derek was seeing anyone. Later, when Marcus and I were alone in my childhood bedroom, he said it quietly. Riley, that furniture is $8,000. I know because I just bought a couch and looked at that exact sectional. I didn't say anything. The floors are new. The kitchen was completely redone. That's $40,000–$50,000 in renovations. Minimum. I know. Where did that money come from? I know, I snapped, then immediately felt terrible. I'm sorry, I know, okay? I know, he pulled me close. You don't have to apologize to me, but you might need to start asking them some questions. I promised I would. After the holidays, after things settled, after I found the right time. But the right time never comes when you're scared of the answer. January 15th. I'll never forget the date. Mom called, crying. Riley, something terrible has happened. My heart stopped. What, is Dad okay? Your father is fine, but we've been robbed. Robbed? Someone hacked our bank accounts. They took everything we'd saved. Our emergency fund, our retirement, all of it. Oh my God. Mom, have you called the police? Of course we called the police, but you know how these things go. The money is probably in some foreign country by now. We'll never see it again. She sobbed. I'm so sorry to ask this, sweetheart. I know you're planning a wedding. I know you've got your own life, but we need help. How much? $10,000, just to get us through the next few months while we sort this out. I felt sick. Mom, I don't have $10,000, not liquid, not without... I know. What about Marcus? Could he... Mom, I can't ask my fiancé for $10,000 from my parents. Why not? He loves you, doesn't he? If he loves you, he loves your family. That's what family means, Riley. I told her I'd think about it. I told her I'd call her back. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I called my sister. Jamie was 8 years older than me, lived in Phoenix with her husband and 2 kids. We talked maybe twice a year. Riley? Her voice was surprised. Hey, is everything okay? I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay, she said slowly. What's going on? Has Dad ever asked you for money? Silence. Long, heavy silence. Jamie? All the time, she said finally. When I was in my 20s, he hit me up constantly. The business was always failing. They were always behind, always needed just a little more to stay afloat. How much did you give them? Maybe $15,000 total over 2 years? Then I stopped. Why? Because I saw Dad at a Mariners game with box seats. My throat closed. When was this? 12 years ago, Riley. I haven't given them a dime since. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? She had a point. I need to ask you something else. Did they ever get their bank accounts hacked? What? Jamie laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Is that what they told you? Oh, Riley, that's their 3rd time getting robbed in 15 years. Once it was a car theft. Once it was a house fire that insurance mysteriously wouldn't cover. Now it's hackers. Creative. I sat down. Actually, sat down on my kitchen floor, phone pressed to my ear. How long have you known? Since the first time Dad asked me for money and I actually drove out to see the store. You've never been there? No. He always said it was too far, that I was too busy, that... Riley, she said gently, there is no store. I stopped breathing. What? There was one back when we were kids, but it closed 15 years ago. Dad sold the property. I saw the paperwork when I was helping Mom with something else. He's been working construction jobs under the table mostly. Mom works part-time at a salon. They make okay money. Not great, but okay. Then where is my money going? I don't know, Jamie said, but it's not going to a business that doesn't exist. I hung up. I don't remember hanging up, but suddenly the phone was on the floor and I was staring at the ceiling and everything I'd believed for 8 years was crumbling. Marcus found me there 20 minutes later. Riley? What happened? I told him everything. Every word Jamie said, every lie I'd swallowed, every dollar I'd sent to save a business that didn't exist. We need to talk to them, he said. No, I need to talk to my uncle. Why your uncle? Because Uncle Tom is the family accountant, and if anyone knows where the money went, it's him. I called Uncle Tom that night. He was Dad's younger brother, the responsible one, the one who'd always seemed vaguely disappointed in his older sibling. Riley, he said warmly, it's been too long. Uncle Tom, I need to ask you about Dad's hardware store. What about it? Does it still exist? The pause told me everything. You know, I just found out. He sighed long and deep. How much have you given them? A lot. How much? I did the math out loud. $4,000 a month for the last 2 years. $3,500 before that. $3,000 before that. Working my way backwards through the years. When I reached the total, Uncle Tom swore. Language he'd never used around me before. $296,000, he said flatly, give or take. Jesus, Riley, I know, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Did Derek really have medical bills from an accident? Another pause. What accident? Exactly. The next morning, I did something I should have done years ago. I canceled the automatic transfer. Then I called Dad. Riley, honey, how are you? Where did the money go? What money? Don't. I spoke to Jamie. I spoke to Uncle Tom. I know there's no store. I know there was no hack. I know there was no accident with Derek. So I'm asking you one more time. Where did the money go? Silence. Long, choking silence. Riley, sweetheart, I can explain. I'm listening. Your mother and I, we made some bad investments. What kind of investments? Real estate that didn't pan out. Some stocks that tanked. We were trying to build something for the family, for your inheritance someday. You lied to me for 8 years. We didn't lie, you lied. You told me the business was failing. There is no business. You told me Derek had medical bills. Derek hasn't been to a hospital in years. You told me you were robbed. His voice cracked. We needed the money, Riley. We didn't think you'd help if we told you the truth. So you conned me? We didn't con you, Dad, I gave you almost $300,000. Where did it go? He started crying. I'd never heard my father cry before. Some of it went to investments, like I said. Some of it... Your mother likes nice things. She deserves nice things after working so hard for so many years. The furniture, yes. The renovations, yes. The cars. We needed reliable transportation. The 70-inch TV. Riley, please don't do this. What about Derek? What about him? Jamie said you give him money, too. We help all our children. How much do you give Derek? That's between us and your brother. I hung up. I actually threw my phone across the room. Marcus caught me before I could put my fist through the wall. Hey, I've got you. I'm here. It's all gone, I sobbed into his shoulder. 8 years. Almost $300,000. All of it. Just gone. We're going to figure this out, he promised. But first, you need to hear something. I looked up at him. You are not responsible for their choices. You are not responsible for their lies. You tried to help your family, and they betrayed that. That is on them, not you. But I should have known. I should have asked. You trusted the people who were supposed to love you? That's not a character flaw, Riley. That's being human. 3 days later, Uncle Tom showed up at my apartment with a banker's box. I wasn't expecting him. He set the box on my coffee table and sat down heavily. I've been doing some digging, he said. And? It's worse than you thought. How is that possible? He opened the box. Inside were bank statements, receipts, credit card bills, all organized with tabs and highlights. Uncle Tom had always been thorough. Your father has been doing this for a long time, not just to you, to me, to your Aunt Carol, to his poker buddies, to anyone who'd give him money. He pointed to a highlighted section. Here's where your money went. I looked, saw line items for furniture stores, car dealerships, Best Buy, Home Depot, vacation rentals, saw charges at casinos. Casinos. Your mother has a gambling problem, Uncle Tom said quietly. Has for about 15 years. Your father kept it quiet, kept enabling it. They'd go to Vegas 3-4 times a year. She'd blow through thousands in a weekend. I felt dizzy. The hackers? There were no hackers. They blew through their savings at blackjack tables. Derek's accident? Never happened. But Derek? Is he in on this? Tom shook his head. Derek's been getting about $2,000 a month from them for the last 5 years. He thinks it's his inheritance being paid out early. He has no idea it's your money. I stared at the numbers. Watched them blur. How much did they give him? Tom pointed to another spreadsheet. Total? $120,000. They took my money and gave it to my brother. They told him it was his inheritance. And he just believed them? Derek isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, Tom said diplomatically. But yeah, he believed them. Where's the rest? Tom's face darkened. The rest is gone. Spent. Furniture, cars, vacations, casinos. There's nothing left to recover, Riley. It's just gone. I thought I'd feel angry. I thought I'd scream, throw things, break down. Instead, I felt nothing. A vast, echoing nothing where my family used to be. What do I do now? Tom leaned forward. Legally, you could sue them. Fraud, misrepresentation. You'd probably win. But it would destroy what's left of the family. And even if you won, you can't get blood from a stone. They don't have $300,000 to pay you back. So they just get away with it? Tom reached into the box one more time, pulled out a single sheet of paper. Unless you want to do what I'm doing. What's that? He handed me the paper. It was a letter, formal and legal looking. I'm contesting my father's will. Your grandfather's will? He died 6 years ago, and he left everything split between me and your dad. $2 million divided equally. Tom tapped the paper, but the will had a clause. If either beneficiary is found to have engaged in financial fraud against family members, their share gets redistributed. You're going to prove Dad committed fraud. I'm going to try. And if I succeed, your father gets nothing. The entire inheritance goes to me, and I split it among the family members he actually wronged, including you. How much would I get? If we win? Probably $400,000. More than you lost. I stared at that number. It felt impossible, like a lifeline thrown from another universe. What do you need from me? Everything. Every transfer record, every conversation, every lie. I need you to document it all, and I need you to be willing to testify if it goes to court. Will you do it? I looked at Marcus. He nodded. Yes, I said. I'll do it. Good, Tom said, standing up. Because your father has been playing this game for 30 years. It's time someone called him on it. After Tom left, I sat with that box for hours, read through every statement, every receipt, saw my money spent on things I'd never touched, never enjoyed, never even knew about. A vacation to Cancun I didn't take, a car I didn't drive, furniture I'd never sit on. I'd worked overtime for that. I'd skipped meals, skipped vacations, skipped living for that. Marcus found me at midnight, still reading. Come to bed. Not yet. Riley, you've been at this for 8 hours. I just need to understand. Understand what? How I could be so stupid. You weren't stupid. You were kind. And they took advantage of that. But that doesn't make you stupid. It makes them cruel. The lawsuit took 4 months to prepare. Uncle Tom was relentless, pulling records going back decades. He found evidence of fraud against 6 different family members. I wasn't the first. I wasn't even the biggest. But I was the most recent. Dad called me 37 times in those 4 months. I didn't answer. Mom called twice. Both times she left voicemails calling me selfish, ungrateful, a traitor to the family. Derek called once. Riley, what the hell is going on? Uncle Tom is saying Dad stole from you? He didn't steal, I said tiredly. I gave it voluntarily, under false pretenses. That's called fraud, Derek. That's not... Did you know? Know what? That the money they were giving you was my money, not your inheritance. Mine. Silence. Derek? I swear, Riley, I didn't know. What did they tell you? That Grandpa had set up a trust for me, that they were just distributing it early. I laughed. It was a bitter, hollow sound. There was no trust, Derek. There was just me, working myself to death, sending them money every month while they handed it to you. I'm sorry. Are you? Because you never questioned it. You never asked why you were getting $2,000 a month for doing nothing. He didn't have an answer. Neither did I. We hung up. I didn't hear from him again. The trial was scheduled for August, but in July, something unexpected happened. Dad showed up at my apartment. Marcus was at work. I was alone. I almost didn't open the door. Riley, please, I just want to talk. Through the peephole, he looked old, smaller somehow, diminished. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. You have 5 minutes. He stood in the hallway, hands shaking. I'm sorry. That's it? That's all you've got? 8 years of lies and I'm sorry is supposed to fix it? What do you want me to say? I want you to explain to me how you could do this, how you could look me in the eye year after year and lie, how you could take my money and give it to Derek and tell him it was his inheritance, how you could spend it on furniture while I ate ramen so I could make the transfers. He was crying now, ugly, gasping sobs. We never meant for it to go this far. When did you mean for it to stop? He didn't answer. Because there is no answer, Dad. You would have bled me dry until there was nothing left. That's not true, isn't it? If I hadn't found out, if Jamie hadn't told me, if Uncle Tom hadn't stepped in, you'd still be taking my money, you'd still be lying, and I'd still be your golden girl working herself to death for your approval. He reached for me. I stepped back. Don't. Riley, please, I'm your father. You're a con artist who happens to share my DNA. That's not the same thing. The look on his face almost broke me. Almost. But then I remembered the casinos, the furniture, the car, the $120,000 they gave Derek while telling me they were broke. No, I said firmly. You don't get to make me feel guilty. Not anymore. He left. I watched him walk down the hallway, shoulders slumped, and felt nothing. Maybe someday I'd feel something. Grief, anger, forgiveness. But that day I just felt tired. The weeks leading up to the trial were strange. I'd wake up at 3 a.m, heart pounding, rehearsing testimony I might have to give. Marcus would find me in the kitchen, laptop open, reading through Uncle Tom's evidence files for the 100th time. You don't have to do this, he'd say gently. We can drop it. Walk away. I can't, I'd tell him, because if I walk away, they win. They get to keep believing their version of reality, where I'm the ungrateful daughter and they're the victims. I need them to admit it. I need them to say out loud in legal documents that they lied. Uncle Tom warned me it might not go the way I wanted. Trials are unpredictable, he said over dinner one night. Your parents could claim they genuinely believed they were helping the family. They could say the investments were real attempts to build wealth. A good lawyer could spin this 6 different ways. So what do? You prepare for the worst, he said, and hope for the best. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Chen, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and absolutely zero tolerance for my self-blame. Our 3rd session, she stopped me mid-sentence. Riley, I need you to hear something. This was not your fault. I know, I said automatically. Do you? Because every time you talk about this, you use phrases like, I should have known, and I should have asked questions, and I was so stupid. That's not knowing it wasn't your fault. That's blaming yourself for trusting the people who raised you. I stared at my hands. They taught me that love meant sacrifice. They're wrong. Love isn't sacrifice, it's choice. And they chose themselves, every single time. That session, I cried for 40 minutes straight. Not sad crying, angry crying. The kind that comes from your gut, from years of swallowing words you needed to say. Dr. Chen handed me tissues and waited. When I finally stopped, she said something I'll never forget. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. Right now, you're angry, and that's good. That means you're still processing. But someday, you'll think about them and feel nothing. And that's when you'll know you're free. I wasn't there yet, but I wanted to be. 2 weeks before the trial, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Riley? It was Mom. Her voice was small, uncertain. Nothing like the confident, commanding tone I'd grown up with. I almost hung up, but something stopped me. What do you want? I wanted to hear your voice. Well, now you have. Are you happy? Am I happy? Mom, you stole from me for 8 years. You're suing us. We're suing Dad, I corrected, for fraud, which is what it was. We were trying to help the family. You were trying to help yourselves. There's a difference. Silence. Then softer. Do you really hate us that much? I don't hate you, I said, and realized it was true. I'm just done pretending this is normal. I'm done pretending that what you did was love. It was love, she insisted. We gave you everything. You gave me guilt. You gave me anxiety. You gave me 8 years of working myself to death so you could buy furniture and go to Vegas. That's not love, Mom. That's exploitation. She started crying. I waited. I'm sorry, she finally said. For what? For all of it. For lying, for taking advantage, for her voice broke, for not being the mother you deserved. It was the closest she'd ever come to real accountability, but it wasn't enough. If you're really sorry, you'll sign the settlement. You'll admit what you did. You'll let this end. We can't afford to pay you back. I'm not asking you to. Uncle Tom's handling the estate distribution. You just need to sign the papers and tell the truth. After this is over, can we talk? Maybe try to... I don't know. I don't think so, Mom. Why not? Because I don't trust you. And I don't think I ever will again. She hung up. I sat there for a long time, phone in my hand, wondering if I'd just closed a door forever. Marcus came home, found me like that. She called. Yeah. And I told her the truth. He kissed the top of my head. Good. The trial never happened. 2 weeks before the court date, Dad's lawyer called Uncle Tom with a settlement offer. They'd sign an affidavit admitting to the fraud. They'd relinquish all claim to Grandpa's inheritance. In exchange, we wouldn't pursue criminal charges. Tom called me immediately. What do you think? I thought about it. Thought about dragging my parents through court, making them answer questions under oath, exposing every lie to a room full of strangers. It would feel good. For about 5 minutes. Then I'd just be the girl who destroyed her family. But maybe the family was already destroyed. Maybe it had been broken for years and I was just finally seeing the cracks. I'll take the settlement, I said, but I want one more thing. What? I want them to pay back Derek. The $120,000 they gave him. I want it returned to the estate so it can be distributed properly. Tom was quiet. Riley, that's generous. It's not generous. Derek didn't know. He was a victim too, just a more expensive one. And if I take that money and don't fix what they did to him, I'm just perpetuating the cycle. I'm just being them. Tom laughed, but it was warm. You're a better person than I am. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of being angry. I'm tired of letting them take up space in my head. I want this over. I understand, Tom said. I'll draft the amendment. And Riley? Yeah? Your grandfather would be proud of you. I didn't expect that to hit as hard as it did. I'd never met Grandpa Harold, not really. He died when I was 19, and we'd only seen him a handful of times growing up. Mom always said he was too busy, too distant, didn't really care about family. Now I wondered what else she'd lied about. The settlement was finalized in September. I remember the day exactly. September 23rd, a Tuesday. Uncle Tom met me at the lawyer's office downtown. The building was all glass and steel, the kind of place that makes you feel small. "You ready?" Tom asked as we rode the elevator up. "No," I said honestly, "but let's do it anyway." The conference room was sterile. White walls, long table, uncomfortable chairs. Dad's lawyer was already there, a man in his 60s with silver hair and an expensive suit. My parents arrived 10 minutes late. I hadn't seen them in person since Dad showed up at my apartment. They looked diminished. Dad had lost weight. Mom's hair had more gray than I remembered. They wouldn't meet my eyes. The proceedings were formal, clinical. The lawyer spoke in legal terms, citing statutes and precedents. I signed documents. My parents signed documents. Uncle Tom signed documents. At one point, the lawyer asked if everyone understood the terms. "This is a binding agreement," he said. "You're admitting to financial fraud against your daughter and relinquishing all claim to your father's estate. Do you understand?" My dad's voice was barely a whisper. "We understand. Do you have any questions?" Dad looked at me then. Really looked at me for the first time since we'd entered the room. Can I say something?" The lawyer glanced at Uncle Tom, who nodded. "Go ahead, Robert." Dad cleared his throat. "Riley, I know this doesn't fix anything. I know sorry isn't enough. But I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you. The money, the lies, they snowballed, and I was too ashamed to stop." I didn't say anything. He continued, his voice breaking. "You were always the good one, the responsible one, the one we could count on, and I took advantage of that. I took advantage of you, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Mom was crying silently, but she didn't speak. I looked at my father, this man who'd shaped my childhood, who'd taught me to ride a bike and helped me with math homework, who'd walked me to the bus stop every morning until I was in 5th grade. That man felt like a stranger. "I forgive you," I said finally. Both of them looked up, shocked. "But I don't trust you," I continued, "and I don't want you in my life. Maybe someday that'll change, but not today, not soon." Dad nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I understand. We signed the final papers. The lawyer notarized everything. And just like that, it was over. 8 years of manipulation, $300,000, countless sleepless nights, reduced to signatures on legal documents. Uncle Tom walked me out. "You did good in there. I don't feel good. You don't have to," he said. "You just have to be free. And now you are. My parents signed the papers. Uncle Tom got Grandpa's full inheritance, $2 million. He distributed it according to the will's fraud clause. $415,000 came to me. $120,000 went back to Derek's inheritance, which Tom immediately put in a trust Derek couldn't access until he was 40. Smart man, my uncle. The rest went to Aunt Carol and 2 cousins I barely knew who'd also been conned. Turns out I wasn't the only one. Aunt Carol called me the day after the settlement. "Riley, honey, I just heard what happened. I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For standing up, for fighting back. Your father pulled the same thing on me 15 years ago. Told me he needed money for your grandmother's medical bills. I gave him $20,000 over 6 months. Then I found out Grandma had Medicare and no medical debt." "I'm sorry," I said, because I didn't know what else to say. "Don't be sorry. Be proud. You did what I was too scared to do. You held him accountable." We talked for an hour. She told me stories about my dad, about his pattern of lying that went back to childhood. "He was always good at making people feel sorry for him," she said, "even when we were kids. He'd cry and say he was picked on, that nobody loved him, that he was the forgotten middle child, and Mom and Dad would give him whatever he wanted just to stop the tears. So he learned that pain gets rewarded. Exactly. And he never unlearned it. When we hung up, I felt lighter somehow, like sharing the burden made it easier to carry. I deposited the check on a Tuesday, stared at my bank balance, $415,000. More than I'd lost. Not enough to fix what was broken, but enough to start rebuilding. Marcus and I got married in October. Small ceremony, just our closest friends. 50 people max. We rented a historic mansion in the countryside, the kind with ivy-covered walls and gardens that looked like something from a fairy tale. I'd always wanted a big wedding, the kind with 200 guests and a live band and a dress that cost as much as a car. But after everything, I just wanted simple, real. Marcus standing at the end of an aisle, me walking toward our future. Nothing else mattered. Uncle Tom walked me down the aisle. We'd asked him 2 weeks before the wedding over dinner at his house. Tom stopped mid-bite. "You want me to walk you down the aisle?" "If you're comfortable with that," I said. "I know it's usually the father, but—" "I'd be honored," he said, his voice thick. Truly honored. As we stood in the mansion's entryway waiting for our cue, Tom squeezed my hand. "You deserve this," he whispered. "All of it. The happiness, the peace, the future. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for fighting," he said. "Someone had to." The music started. Pachel Bell's Canon, because I'd always loved it, even though it's cliché. Tom offered his arm. "Ready?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. We stepped into the garden. The aisle was lined with white roses and fairy lights, even though it was 3 in the afternoon and the sun was shining. At the end, Marcus waited. He was crying. Not subtle tears either. Full on, shoulders shaking, trying to hold it together, crying. His best man handed him a tissue. I started laughing. By the time I reached him, we were both laughing and crying, and the officiant was grinning. Marcus took my hands. "Hi," he whispered. "Hi yourself," I whispered back. The ceremony was short. We'd written our own vows. Marcus went first. "Riley," he began, then had to stop and collect himself. "When I met you, you were carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You didn't talk about it, didn't complain, just carried it. Like that was normal. Like that was love." He squeezed my hands. "I watched you give everything to people who gave you nothing back. I watched you sacrifice your dreams for their comfort, and I fell in love with your kindness. But I also fell in love with your strength. The strength it took to finally say no. The strength it took to choose yourself. The strength it took to build a life that's yours. Today I'm promising you something. I will never make you choose between loving me and loving yourself. I will never make you prove your worth with your wallet or your sacrifice. I will love you because of who you are, not what you can give me. And I will spend every day making sure you know you are enough, just as you are." I was sobbing, mascara definitely running. I didn't care. My turn. I pulled out the paper I'd written, but my hands were shaking so hard I couldn't read it. Marcus took it gently. "Want me to hold it?" I shook my head. "Put the paper in my pocket. I'll just say it." I took a breath. "Marcus, for 8 years, I believed that love was sacrifice, that family was obligation, that being a good person meant giving until you had nothing left. You showed me I was wrong. You loved me when I was broke. You loved me when I was drowning. You loved me when I was angry and broken and convinced I didn't deserve good things. You never asked me to be smaller or quieter or less. You just loved me, as I am. Today I'm promising you something too. I will never take you for granted. I will never expect you to save me from myself. I will build a life with you, not lean on you to carry me. And I will love you. Not because you fixed me, but because you stood beside me while I fixed myself. The officiant pronounced us married. Marcus kissed me and everyone cheered. And for the first time in almost a decade, I felt whole. The reception was perfect. Small, intimate, full of people who actually cared about us. Uncle Tom gave a toast that made everyone cry. To Riley and Marcus, he said, raising his glass, "May your marriage be everything your families weren't. Honest, equal, built on choice, not obligation." "Cheers to that," someone called out. The entire room raised their glasses. Derek showed up. I'd debated inviting him for weeks. Finally sent the invitation with a note. "No hard feelings, just new beginnings. Come if you want." He came, stood awkwardly by the bar, clearly unsure if he was welcome. I walked over. "You made it." "Yeah," he said. "Thanks for inviting me. I wasn't sure you would." We stood in silence for a moment. Then Derek said, "I've been going to therapy." "Yeah?" "Yeah, trying to figure out a lot of things. How I let them manipulate me. How I didn't ask questions. He trailed off. "How you benefited from my suffering." I finished gently. He flinched. "Yeah. That." "I get it," I said. "You didn't know. They lied to both of us, just different lies." "Does that make it okay?" "No. But it makes it understandable. We're not going to be best friends, Derek. Maybe not ever. But we can be civil, working on it." He smiled slightly. "I'll take civil." Marcus and I left the reception early, drove to a bed and breakfast in the mountains, 3 hours away. No phones, no internet, just us. That first night, lying in bed, Marcus asked me something. "Do you regret it?" "Regret what? All of it. The 8 years, the money, the fighting. If you could go back, would you do it differently?" I thought about it, honestly thought about it. Part of me wanted to say yes, wanted to imagine a version of my life where I'd said no from the beginning, where I'd kept my money and my peace of mind. But that version of me wouldn't have learned what I learned, wouldn't have fought like I fought, wouldn't have become who I'd become. "No," I said finally, "I wouldn't change it." "Really?" "Really. Because all of it, the lies, the betrayal, the lawsuit, all of it, led me here. To you, to us, to a life where I know my worth. If I could go back and skip the pain, I'd also skip the lesson. And I don't want to skip the lesson." Marcus pulled me closer. "I love you." "I know," I said, smiling, "and I love you too." "You deserve this," he whispered as we paused at the entrance. "All of it. The happiness, the peace, the future. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for fighting," he said. Someone had to. As I walked toward Marcus, I thought about my parents. Wondered if they were thinking about me. Wondered if they regretted it. Wondered if they'd ever actually loved me or just loved what I could give them. Then I decided it didn't matter. I was done wondering. I was done waiting for them to be who I needed them to be. I was choosing myself, finally, completely, without apology. We bought a house 3 months later. 3 bedrooms, big backyard, good school district. Not for kids yet, but someday. Marcus and I are taking our time, learning to be married, learning to be U.S. without the weight of my family hanging over everything. Mom tried to call once. I let it go to voicemail. "Riley, it's your mother. I know you don't want to talk to me, but I miss you. I miss my daughter. Can we please just talk?" I deleted it. She didn't miss me. She missed her ATM. There's a difference. Dad sent a letter. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. It was 3 pages, handwritten. Apologies, explanations, excuses. He talked about his own father, about growing up poor, about always feeling like he wasn't enough. He talked about Mom's gambling, how it started small, how it spiraled. He talked about being ashamed, being desperate, being weak. The last paragraph was the only part that felt real. "I know I can't fix this," he wrote. "I know you'll probably never forgive me, but I need you to know that I loved you. I love you. I just didn't know how to show it without taking. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I folded the letter, put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd be ready to forgive him, but not today. Derek reached out around Christmas. He'd been in therapy, learned some things about himself, about our family. I was an enabler, he said over coffee. I took the money and didn't ask questions because it was easier than facing reality. I'm sorry, Riley. I'm sorry I benefited from what they did to you. I believed him. Forgiveness came easier with Derek because he'd been a victim too, just a different kind. We're not close. Probably never will be, but we're civil. Working on it. That's more than I ever thought we'd have. 1 year after the settlement, Marcus and I were having breakfast. He was reading the news on his tablet. I was scrolling through photos looking for the perfect one for our Christmas card. You know what I just realized? I looked up. What? We're boring. I laughed. What? Look at us. Sunday morning, pancakes, absolutely nothing dramatic happening. When's the last time you cried about your family? Months. When's the last time you checked your bank account obsessively? I don't even remember. Exactly. He grinned. We're boring, and I love it. I raised my coffee mug. To being boring, he echoed. We clinked mugs like champagne glasses, and in that moment I felt something I hadn't felt in almost a decade. Peace. Real, genuine, uncomplicated peace. I want to leave you with a few things I learned, not as advice because your situation is your situation, but just things that helped me. First, the people who love you won't make you prove it with your wallet. Real love doesn't have a price tag. Real family doesn't send invoices. If someone only calls when they need money, they don't love you. They love your bank account. Second, you cannot save people who don't want to be saved. I spent 8 years trying to rescue my parents from problems they were actively creating. You can't fix someone else's mess while they're still making it. It's like bailing water from a boat while they're drilling holes in the bottom. Eventually, you'll drown too. Third, saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you sane. I thought setting boundaries would make me a bad daughter. Instead, it made me a whole person. The people who matter understood. The people who didn't, well, they showed me who they really were. And finally, the life you want is on the other side of the guilt. I know what it feels like to lie awake at night, wondering if you're doing enough, wondering if you're being selfish, wondering if you're failing the people who raised you. But here's the truth. If they wanted you to feel secure and loved and valued, they wouldn't put you in that position. Your guilt is not an accident. It's a tool. And the day you put it down is the day you start living. I'm Riley. I'm 32 years old. I'm married to a man who loves me for who I am, not what I can give him. I own a house with a big backyard and a mortgage I can actually afford. I sleep through the night without checking my bank balance. I say no without apologizing. And I am happy. If my story resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment. Tell me, have you ever been the family ATM? How did you get out? If you're new here, consider subscribing. I share real stories about boundaries, betrayal, and finding your people. And remember, you are not a piggy bank. You are not a safety net. You are not an ATM machine. You are a person, and you deserve people who treat you like one. Thank you for watching.